Hello and welcome to Foreign Dispatches, the program that takes you around the world in 25 minutes. I'm Layo Adegoke. On the program this week, European leaders are reinstating coronavirus restrictions as the Omicron variant continues to spread through the continent. Also, residents in Malaysia and the Philippines are trying to get back to normal after battling floods and a super typhoon that has killed many and displaced thousands. Let's begin with the situation in the US, which has seen Omicron as the main driving force of its COVID-19 infections, accounting for nearly 3/4 of all new cases. 2 years into the coronavirus pandemic, the United States is confronting another dark winter, with the red-hot Omicron variant threatening to worsen an already dangerous surge of cases. According to data published Monday, December 20, by the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, the rapidly spreading Omicron variant is now the dominant COVID strain in the US, representing 73% of sequenced cases. These statistics and more have led to President Joe Biden's address telling all unvaccinated Americans to be concerned about the variant. He offered both a warning to the unvaccinated, who he says have a good reason to be concerned.
How concerned should you be about Omicron, which is now the dominant variant in this country, and it happened so quickly? The answer is straightforward. If you're not fully vaccinated, you have good reason to be concerned.
And reassurance that those who are inoculated can gather for the holidays despite the new variant sweeping the country.
And I know some Americans are wondering if you can safely celebrate the holidays with your family and friends. The answer is yes, you can. If you and those you celebrate with are vaccinated, particularly if you've gotten your booster shot.
Striking a more dire tone about the risks to the 1 in 4 American adults who are not fully vaccinated, Biden says those who still have not been vaccinated have a significantly higher risk of ending up in the hospital or even dying.
And again, to folks who are not vaccinated, you might think you're putting only yourself at risk, but it's your choice. Your choice is not just a choice about you. It affects other people. You're putting other people at risk. Your loved ones, your friends, neighbors, strangers you run into. And your choice can be the difference between life or death.
The measures announced on Tuesday, December 22, include activating some 1,000 military medical personnel to support hospitals already being overwhelmed by COVID patients in some areas. Also, 500 million COVID rapid tests will be made available at no cost amid new measures to tackle the surging Omicron variant. In the meantime, COVID-19 testings ramp up, with residents waiting in long lines to get tested. Here in Washington, members of the public lined up across Farragut Square to get a rapid PCR coronavirus test amidst a surge in infections. Many say they want to be extra cautious as they prepared to gather with friends and family for the holidays.
I'm COVID phobia, so I need to take a test, and it's a few of us getting together, so we want to all take a COVID test to be safe.
Just so you know.
Yes, just to be safe, yes. You know, we have nieces and nephews who sometimes go out, and so it's a few of us getting together, so we just want to make sure that everybody is safe.
I'm helping people get tested, but I have myself test myself every week at the beginning of the week to make sure I'm okay to go home, because I come in contact with a lot of people. I don't know who really has it or not, but I just have to make sure I'm safe so I can be around my family for the holidays. So I get tested weekly.
For those living in Chicago, effective from January 3rd, they will require patrons to present proof of COVID-19 vaccinations for entry to restaurants, bars, gyms, and some other indoor spaces. The move announced by the mayor, Lori Lightfoot, mirrors similar requirements imposed in other cities and is aimed at safeguarding the city's healthcare system from a post-holiday surge of cases from the highly transmissible Omicron variant. With the holiday travel season already begun, new COVID-19 cases are surging in the U.S., prompting local and federal officials to again confront just how far to go to combat the virus. The World Health Organization is warning that a surge of Omicron cases is pushing European health systems towards the brink, that another storm is coming, and governments should brace themselves for significant increases in cases. Countries like the Netherlands have reinstated lockdowns. Others are enforcing strict quarantine rules and movement measures to curb the spread of the virus. Countries across Europe and in Asia are reimposing new curbs on movement to fight the Omicron variant that has swept the world in the lead up to the second Christmas of the pandemic. Since December 20, the Netherlands entered a strict lockdown that is to last over the Christmas and New Year period to try to contain the highly contagious Omicron variant. Dutch urban centres remain largely deserted after Prime Minister Mark Rutte ordered the closure of all but essential stores, as well as restaurants, hairdressers, gyms, museums and other public places until at least January 14th.
As a traditional in the Netherlands, we also have this famous concert on the first day of Christmas. I'm looking forward to things like that, and well, it's not going to happen. So this is one of the things I will miss for myself very much.
For Portugal, starting Christmas Day, December 25th, nightclubs and bars are to close and people to work from home for at least 2 weeks to control the spread of COVID-19 over the holiday period.
This still isn't the normal Christmas we're used to. So I ask everyone to reduce as much as possible Christmas celebrations at their homes.
For the Germans, the government will introduce new measures before New Year's Eve, including limiting private gatherings for vaccinated people to a maximum of 10 people. Stopping well short of a nationwide lockdown, Chancellor Olaf Scholz also agreed with the premiers of Germany's 16 states to close clubs and discos and to allow only big events, including soccer matches, without spectators.
Lassen Sie mich noch eines vorweg sagen.
Corona won't take a break over the Christmas holidays. We therefore decided to continue the vaccination campaign with undiminished vigor. We aim to achieve an additional 30 million booster vaccinations by the end of January.
In Spain's Catalonia, nightlife establishments will be closed from midnight on Thursday, December 23, and there will be limits on capacity at restaurants and bars, businesses, gyms and cultural events. Thailand has reinstated its mandatory quarantine for foreign visitors and scrapped a quarantine waiver from Tuesday, December 21st due to concerns over the spread of Omicron. The decision to halt Thailand's test and go waiver means visitors will have to undergo hotel quarantine, which ranges between 7 to 10 days. However, Thais are disappointed at this new development. I'm disappointed with the announcement, but there's nothing I can do about it. I expected to make an income because there are usually a lot of tourists here on Carlsen Road during the New Year, but I guess it will not happen anymore.
This is the end. I only started to have customers for 2 days. I don't know what the situation will be next year, but I have a feeling that it will get worse.
The Omicron variant was first identified in southern Africa last month, but has now spread around the globe. It has been detected in at least 38 of the 53 countries in the WHO's European region, which includes Russia and Turkey, and is dominant in several other nations. Malaysia is battling with flooding that has seen the deaths of several people and displacement of thousands. This is said to be a visible effect of climate change, as 8 Malaysian states are badly hit by the floods, bringing along destruction.
Drone footage shot on Tuesday, December the 21st showed flood water had not receded in parts of Malaysia, with search and rescue operations continuing. One of the worst hit neighborhoods, Taman Sri Muda, in the country's most populous and richest state of Selangor, still saw vehicles half submerged after unusually heavy rainfall had started falling on Friday, December the 17th. Those that have been displaced from their homes due to flooding caused by torrential rains make desperate pleas for help amid an outcry from the public and lawmakers over delays in rescue efforts. Over 66,000 personnel from the police, army and fire department were mobilized to help rescue people stranded by flood waters and take them to shelters.
We are left with only our clothes and important documents like our children's birth certificates. That's all we brought with us. We can't bring a lot of things, so we just saved what we could carry with us. What's important are the identification documents and our children's birth certificates. That's all we brought. The rest we just had to leave behind. You could say that we are starting from zero. Nothing else could be saved. If possible, please help us. Right now, the people are also suffering during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're living in this shelter. We can't work. Those who are self-employed cannot run their business. Like my husband who works on his own, he has an automotive workshop, but because of the flood, it's a total loss. Hopefully the government can look into this and help us.
As of Monday, 20th of December, more than 51,000 people had been evacuated from their homes. Most of them were from Pahang, on the eastern coast of Malaysia, one of the worst hit states. Rokida Yusuf, who has lived in Shah Alam city of Selangor State for more than 30 years, says the floods are the worst she has ever seen. She was brought to safety by volunteers with a rubber kayak.
This was the first time. I've never experienced floods this bad. Usually it is just small floods, but this time is worse, with cars submerged.
After hearing about people trapped by floodwaters, rescue volunteer Mohammed Adib Haris Hadzila rushed to a camping supply store to purchase kayaks and life jackets while reaching out for help from public via social media. Haris Fadzela is one of those putting the government under fierce criticism over its delayed response.
I was actually disappointed of the government because it is so slow, and I know there's a lot of people doing their work and all the bombers coming down and everything, but it's slow, and all this is because of the politics stuff and everything.
The animals are not also left out of the evacuation. A Malaysian animal shelter on Tuesday were able to rescue 120 cats and dogs from floods after CCTV cameras were installed on the premises. In the meantime, Malaysia's meteorological department is still warning of more heavy rainfall.
Over in the Philippines, there is no power, no communication and very little water as a result of Super Typhoon Rai that has battered the archipelago. The Red Cross says there is carnage in many areas and humanitarian agencies warn the true scale of destruction remains unknown, partly because rescue workers are unable to access some disaster-hit areas.
Destroyed houses, broken trees and debris lined the roads after Typhoon Rai slammed into Surigao del Norte province of the Philippines. The powerful typhoon also flooded towns, severed power and communication lines in its central and southern regions. This aerial footage shows the devastation on the popular holiday island of Siargao, one of the areas where Rai first made landfall as a Category 5 typhoon, inundated with floods and damaged structures. The death toll has been soaring alarmingly since the storm hit. As at Wednesday, December 23rd, at least 375 people have been killed, 1.8 million people affected with over 600,000 of them displaced. Those who managed to survive, officials and residents that bore the brunt of the disaster, plead for food, water and shelter as damaged infrastructure hampered relief efforts. It is the strongest typhoon to hit the archipelago this year. President Rodrigo Duterte on Monday ordered state agencies to restore power and communications as he promised $200 million for recovery efforts. Foreign aid has also started to arrive, including from Japan and China, while the United Nations says it was working with partners to help with the relief response.
When Foreign Dispatches returns in just a moment, despite the fears of the Omicron variant, Santa is coming to town as countries around the world bask in the euphoria of the Christmas season. You're still watching Foreign Dispatches on Channels Television. The world is producing e-waste at an alarming rate, and that's partly thanks to advancements in technology and a demand for more interactive devices, which means older versions get discarded quickly. Waste is inevitable, but what we do with it is of greater importance. Well, in this next report, we go to the biggest e-waste recycling plant in the world and get a better understanding of the industry.
Of all 53 metric tons of e-waste produced yearly, that's roughly 8 kg per person, only 5 to 10% gets recycled. That's a lot of treasure going to waste, literally.
The life cycle of each phone, it's built nowadays, it used to be built by aluminium and copper and silver, now it's built by from plastic and painted steel because it's cheaper to produce.
Revenue from mobile commerce sales in 2021 has multiplied by more than 3.5 times what it was in 2016. More buying, but not enough recycling, which is where EnviroServe comes in.
Do we need to generate more waste? No, there is enough waste. There is more than 53 million of e-waste generated worldwide. If we get only 1 million out of it, it's a lot. So we don't need new waste, but we need the waste to come to the processing facility.
Waste that goes into this processor comes out as raw materials ready to be used again. EnviroServe recycles 98.6% of all waste, but the facility is only able to operate at 7% capacity. The problem? Not enough waste comes in.
As yet another tough year for many winds down, Christmas festivities and shopping sprees seem far-fetched for even more people. But in some communities, there's still some people who are reaching out from the little they have to support others around them. Channels Television found an unemployed couple in Soweto, South Africa, who run a soup kitchen for anyone who stops by. They say stretching what they have to reach people around is the only way the prevailing tough times could be a little more bearable.
This scenario plays out twice a week in this area, every week. The soup kitchen makes a difference for those who get on the queue before the tickets finish. The prevailing economic situation around the world, made worse by the COVID pandemic, has thrown up a lot of community heroes in different places who have been helping hold up fellow community members, especially those who are struggling to put even one meal on their table each day. Here in Noordgesik, Soweto in South Africa, this family has been raising funds and food every 2 weeks to help support the people in the area. And as you can see, the queue is usually long every time the soup kitchen is open. And this project was inspired by the woman you see painted on that wall, Betty Glover. She died about 3 years ago. She inspired the soup kitchen that you see continuing here. Donovan and Vinoda Sampson, both unemployed, live here with their children and grandchildren. It's tough for them too, but through a few donors, the soup kitchen feeds many, old and young, every week.
It's almost 20 years that we're feeding people in Noordgesik like a soup kitchen, like our late Mama Betty Glover. So we're taking the legend and still doing a job for her. There's a lot of people who's very poor in Noordgesik, and we're thinking on those ones that we try to help, try our best to give them something just to eat for the day. Like for instance, the packet we made up, the packet is made up for almost say 2 days, because we give them stamp first, we give them mealie meal, and we give them soya, so it's 1, 2, and then we give them porridge, like a porridge that they can give the children in the morning. So that's how we try to bless them with it.
They say the queues have grown longer with the COVID pandemic, but their donors list has grown shorter. The number of tickets issued every day gives a picture of how many people they can cater for on that day. In no time, the pots are empty. They say it's heartbreaking sometimes having to turn some people away, but they have financial constraints. We asked Vinoda why they have continued despite the difficulties.
The help of other people. That's how we are getting things here in the house also. And we've got like a brass band, and we are keeping the children out of the streets from drugs and from all the funny things they're doing here in the streets, so we're keeping them away.
Vinoda also hopes more community members across the world would do more for the youths among them, to get them off the streets and meaningfully engaged. This way, she says, communities will be safer and better.
And as we end the program today, we continue our coverage of Christmas stories around the world. It is indeed a wonderful time of the year as people continue to spread joy and good cheer.
Christmas in Rio de Janeiro's favelas received a booster of joy with a visit from Santa Claus on Monday, December the 20th. Aiding a local effort to find donations for the children living in the slums of southern Brazil, a man dressed as Santa Claus delivered presents for more than 100 kids just 5 days before Christmas.
These presents are necessary items, some things the kids really need, like clothing and toys, so they can play all the time. We can always help with food.
I use the internet. I take pictures of the kids, their names and ages, and post them on social networks to ask for donations and also sponsorship. I thought we would have just 30 kids, but we've reached donations for 120.
A giant lit Christmas tree is seen floating on Trasimeno Lake in Italy, delighting tourists and locals during the holiday season. It is the world's largest floating Christmas tree, according to those who designed it, and tourists came to Castiglione del Lago from all around the country to admire it.
For me, it's beautiful. It's already the third year that we've come. We came for the first time before the pandemic, and then we came back this year.
It's a nice initiative that has brought some tourists to Castiglione del Lago. I think it's a positive thing. It's a nice initiative.
The tree is made of 165 9-meter supporting poles, 7 kilometers of electric cable, 2,600 perimeter lights, and it's over 1 kilometer long. More than 100 volunteers took part in this project, which started in 2019.
Behind me, you can find a checkpoint for the Green Pass. Then the ticket office, where you can buy the ticket to see the monumental nativity scene. And on the left, you can see the world's largest floating Christmas tree.
Over in Australia, this flying pastor is on a mission to deliver some holiday cheer. Pastor David Shrimpton's congregation is scattered over 87,000 square miles, and he serves some of Australia's most isolated communities. Since 2003, the Uniting Church pastor has been flying to some of Australia's most isolated communities to talk and listen to a scattered flock. That largely stopped last year when Australia introduced some of the world's strictest COVID-19 restrictions. But now, with restrictions easing, Shrimpton is taken to the skies again with hopes of sharing the closest thing to a normal Christmas season.
It will be great to be able to go out again and reconnect with these folk. Reconnect with the kids and be part of their school life once again, reconnect with families, with the adults that are living remotely, and see them and touch base, let them know that they're still not forgotten, and I'm still around.
In Venice, dozens of Santa Claus swapped sleighs for gondolas as they rode along the canals. The cold weather kept away many residents and tourists, but this did not stop the Santas taking part in the colorful Christmas regatta. And thousands of people dressed as Santa Claus take part in a charity run through Madrid to raise money for victims of the volcanic eruption on the Spanish island of La Palma. Decked in red and white outfits, the runners set off to a flurry of fake snow along the Paseo de la Castellana, a major boulevard through the city center. In La Palma, thousands of people have been evacuated, at least 2,910 buildings have been destroyed, and the island's economically vital banana plantations have been devastated due to Cumbre Via eruption. And in Venezuela, hundreds of Santas dashed through Caracas streets as part of a 10-kilometer fun run in the Venezuelan capital. Clad in the traditional red jacket and hat, runners spread joy and Christmas cheer as they battled to hold on to their hats. This is the 5th Santa Fun Run in the capital, and it has become a popular event in the city's festival season. With last year's event cancelled due to the pandemic, runners were happy to be together again and spread joy to the world.
Well, this is where we say goodbye till next time. But remember, our top stories are never far away. You can catch them on channelstv.com. Thank you so much for watching the program. I'm Layo Adegoke, compliments of the season.